Luna Adams had decided years ago that optimism was a luxury she could not afford, and the rain hammering against the museum windows on this miserable Tuesday morning only confirmed her worldview. She stood in the back corridor of the Metropolitan Museum of Natural History, clipboard in hand, counting boxes of fossils that had arrived 3 hours late. Her dark hair was pulled into a severe bun, and her expression matched the storm clouds outside. As the museum's head curator of paleontology, Luna had built a reputation for being brilliant, exacting, and about as warm as the Ice Age specimens she studied. "Luna, there's someone here to see you," called Marcus, one of the junior staff members, poking his head around the corner with an uncertain expression. "Tell them I'm busy," she said without looking up. "I tried, but he says it's about the funding proposal. He's from the Kensington Foundation." Luna's pen stopped mid-notation. The Kensington Foundation. They were considering a $10 million grant that would fund the museum's new wing, a project Luna had spent 2 years developing. She set down her clipboard with deliberate care. "Where is he?" "Main gallery. You can't miss him." Luna made her way through the corridors, her practical flats clicking against the marble floors. She emerged into the soaring space of the main dinosaur hall, where a Tyrannosaurus rex skeleton towered over visitors. And there, standing beneath it with his hands in his pockets and an easy smile on his face, was the most inappropriately cheerful man she had ever seen. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with sandy brown hair that looked like he had just run his fingers through it. He wore an expensive suit, but his tie was loosened, and he had the kind of relaxed posture that suggested he had never worried about anything in his entire life. When he saw her approaching, his smile widened. "Dr. Adams, I'm Derek Kensington." He extended his hand with such genuine warmth that Luna briefly wondered if he had walked into the wrong building. She shook his hand professionally, noting the firm grip. "Mr. Kensington, I wasn't expecting anyone from the Foundation until next week. I know I'm early, bad habit of mine. I get excited about things." His eyes were an unusual shade of amber, and they were currently fixed on the T-Rex above them with boyish enthusiasm. "This is incredible. Do you know how long I've wanted to see this exhibit?" Luna crossed her arms. "If you're here about the grant proposal, my office would be more appropriate for discussion." "Right, yes, of course." But he didn't move immediately. Instead, he turned to her with that relentless smile. "But first, can you tell me if the theory about T-Rex having feathers is actually true? Because that would really change my whole childhood understanding of dinosaurs." Despite herself, Luna felt the corner of her mouth twitch. She suppressed it immediately. Some tyrannosaurs had proto-feathers, yes. Current evidence suggests the Rex specifically had scales, but we're still learning. "Now, if you'll follow me." As they walked through the museum, Derek maintained a steady stream of questions and observations. He greeted a school group with a wave, complimented a security guard on her shoes, and stopped to help an elderly man who had dropped his museum map. Luna found herself increasingly irritated by his cheerfulness. Nobody was that genuinely happy. It had to be an act. Her office was a cramped space filled with books, papers, and photographs of dig sites. She moved a stack of journals from the visitor's chair and gestured for him to sit. "The proposal outlines everything we need for the new wing," Luna began, pulling up files on her computer. "The construction timeline, the exhibits we plan to feature, and the educational programs we'll implement. The Kensington Foundation's contribution would be essential for breaking ground this year." Derek leaned forward, but instead of looking at her screen, he was looking at a photograph on her desk. It showed a much younger Luna, covered in dust, grinning beside a partially excavated skeleton in what looked like the Montana Badlands. "Is this you?" he asked, picking up the frame. From my graduate work. That's a triceratops we excavated near Fort Peck. You look happy. Luna felt something tighten in her chest. That was a long time ago. The proposal, Mr. Kensington. Derek, please. He set down the photograph gently. And yes, I've read the entire proposal. 3 times, actually. It's brilliant. The way you've designed the interactive exhibits to make paleontology accessible to kids who might never otherwise care about science. That's exactly what we want to support. Luna blinked. You've read it 3 times. I like to be thorough when I'm excited about something. He pulled out his phone and opened a notes app. I have some questions, though. The virtual reality component for the Cretaceous period walkthrough. How are you handling the programming? For the next hour, they discussed the project in detail. Luna found herself surprised by Derek's knowledge and insight. He asked intelligent questions, offered thoughtful suggestions, and somehow managed to make even technical discussions feel energizing. When she explained the challenges they faced with the architectural plans, he pulled up contacts on his phone and offered to introduce her to a firm that specialized in museum construction. Why are you being so helpful? Luna asked finally, suspicion creeping into her voice. The foundation hasn't even approved the grant yet. Derek's smile softened. Because I can see how much this matters to you, and because I think what you're doing here is important. We need more people who are passionate about education and science. That's very diplomatic. It's also true. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. The board meets in 2 weeks to make the final decision, but I can tell you right now that I'm going to recommend full funding. Your project deserves it. Luna rose as well, feeling oddly off balance. Thank you, that's good news. Would you have dinner with me? The question came so naturally, so casually, that it took Luna a moment to process it. What, dinner? There's an excellent Italian place near here. We could continue discussing the project or not discuss it, maybe just enjoy good food and conversation. His expression was hopeful but not pushy. That wouldn't be appropriate, not while the grant is under consideration. Fair point. He didn't look offended, just thoughtful. Then how about coffee as colleagues? I'd love to hear more about your field work. I don't really do coffee meetings. Lunch, Mr. Kensington. Derek, she said with forced patience. I appreciate your enthusiasm for the project, but I'm very busy. If the foundation has further questions, you can email me. He studied her for a moment, and Luna had the uncomfortable feeling that he was seeing more than she wanted to reveal, but his smile never wavered. Okay, I'll be in touch about the grant. He headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Dr. Adams, I think you should smile more. You have the kind of face that's made for happiness. Luna stiffened. That's incredibly condescending. Is it? He looked genuinely confused. I just meant that when you were talking about the Triceratops dig, your whole face lit up. It was nice to see. Before she could formulate a response, he was gone, leaving her alone in her office with an unsettled feeling she couldn't quite name. Over the next week, Derek Kensington proved to be persistent in the most infuriating way possible. He didn't email about the grant. Instead, he sent questions about completely random things. One morning, Luna arrived to find a message asking whether she thought Stegosaurus would have tasted like chicken. Another day, he wanted to know if she had a favorite fossil. When she didn't respond, he sent a photo of a rock he had found on his morning jog with the caption, "Is this a fossil or just a weird rock? Important distinction." Luna deleted each message without responding, but she couldn't help the small, annoying flutter in her stomach each time his name appeared in her inbox. On Thursday, a package arrived at her office. Inside was a book, a first-edition copy of The Dinosaur Heresies by Robert Bakker, a paleontology classic she had mentioned offhandedly during their meeting. The note read, "Saw this at an estate sale and thought of you. No strings attached. Just thought you'd appreciate it. Derek." Marcus whistled when he saw it. "That's a collector's item. Must have cost a fortune." "It's inappropriate," Luna said, but she didn't send it back. That evening, alone in her apartment, she ran her fingers over the cover and felt something crack in the armor she had built around herself. The following Monday, Derek showed up at the museum again. This time he had 2 cups of coffee and a purposeful expression. "Before you say no," he said, holding out one of the cups. "This is not a date. This is not about the grant. This is me, as a human being who happens to love museums, asking if you'd give me a tour of the fossil preparation lab. Marcus mentioned you have a new specimen that just came in from Wyoming." Luna should have said no. She should have maintained professional boundaries. But the coffee smelled incredible, and she had been dying to show someone the Edmontosaurus skull that had arrived last week. "1 hour," she said, taking the coffee, "and you don't touch anything. Deal." The preparation lab was Luna's sanctuary, a place of careful work and quiet concentration. She showed Derek how they used tiny tools and brushes to remove rock matrix from fossils, revealing bones that hadn't seen daylight in millions of years. He listened with complete attention, asking questions that showed he was actually absorbing the information. "How do you have the patience for this?" he asked, watching her demonstrate the delicate work on a small bone fragment. "One wrong move and you could destroy something irreplaceable. That's exactly why you have to be patient. Rushing leads to mistakes." She glanced at him meaningfully. "Some things can't be hurried. Are we still talking about fossils?" "Of course." Derek laughed, a warm sound that filled the lab. "You know, Dr. Adams, I think you might be the most guarded person I've ever met. I prefer the term careful." "Why?" The question was simple, but the way he asked it, with genuine curiosity and no judgment, made Luna pause. She set down her tools and removed her magnifying glasses. "Because people leave," she said quietly. "Or they disappoint you. Or they turn out to be completely different from who you thought they were. It's easier to just keep your distance. Easier maybe, but not better. You don't know that. I do, actually." His expression grew serious. "I lost my mom when I was 14, cancer. And for a long time after that, I was angry at the world. Angry that she was gone. Angry that life could be so unfair. My dad threw himself into work, building his company, and I was left rattling around in a big house feeling sorry for myself." Luna felt her defensiveness soften. "What changed?" "My mom's sister, my Aunt Claire. She sat me down one day and said, 'Your mom was the happiest person I knew, even at the end. Do you think she'd want you wasting your life being miserable?' And I realized she was right. The best way to honor her was to live the kind of life she'd be proud of. To find joy where I could, to help people when possible, and to never take a single day for granted." "That's a nice philosophy," Luna said, "but it's not that simple for everyone. I know, but maybe it could be simpler than you think." He reached out and gently touched the Edmontosaurus skull. "This dinosaur lived 65 million years ago. It walked, ate, maybe had a family. And now it's gone, just bones and stone. We get such a short time here, Luna. Seems like a shame to spend it building walls." She wanted to argue, to defend her carefully constructed isolation. But something in his words resonated in a place she had kept locked away for years. "The tour is over," she said, but her voice was softer than before. "You should go." "Okay." He moved toward the door, then turned back. "Thank you for sharing this with me, really. It means a lot." After he left, Luna stood alone in the lab, surrounded by the remains of ancient creatures, and wondered when exactly her life had become as fossilized as the bones she studied. The grant approval came through 2 weeks later. Luna was in a meeting with the museum director when she got the news. $10 million, fully funded, with Derek Kensington himself volunteering to serve as the Foundation's liaison for the project. "This is wonderful news," Director Hammond said, beaming. "You'll be working closely with Mr. Kensington, of course. He's requested weekly updates on the project's progress." Luna's stomach did a complicated flip. "Weekly? He's very hands-on, apparently, wants to be involved in every stage. I think it's admirable, don't you? So many donors just write a check and disappear." She forced a smile. "Admirable, yes." That evening, Derek called her directly. "Congratulations, Dr. Adams, or should I say congratulations to us. We're officially partners on this project. I thought Foundation liaisons usually worked from a distance. I'm not good at distance. Besides, I want to see this wing come to life. I've already cleared my schedule for the next few months to dedicate more time to it." "You're clearing your schedule. Don't you have a company to run?" "I have excellent people who can manage things. This is more important." Luna sat on her apartment's tiny balcony, phone pressed to her ear, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. "Why does this project matter so much to you? And please don't give me another speech about passion and education." There was a pause, and when Derek spoke again, his voice was quieter. "My mom used to take me to museums. It was our thing, just the two of us. She loved the Natural History Museum most of all. We'd spend hours in the dinosaur halls and she'd make up stories about what their lives were like. After she died, I couldn't go back for years. It hurt too much." "Derek, but then I finally did, and I realized something. Those museums weren't just places I went with her. They were places where she showed me how to wonder, how to ask questions, how to see the world as something amazing and full of possibilities. Your project is going to do that for thousands of kids. Maybe some of them have just lost someone they love. Maybe they need a place to remember how to wonder again." Luna felt tears prick her eyes, which was ridiculous because she didn't cry. She had trained herself out of that years ago. "That's a good reason," she managed. "So, partner, when can we start?" Over the following months, Luna saw Derek more than she saw anyone else in her life. He attended construction meetings, reviewed architectural plans, and somehow charmed every contractor and city official into cooperation. But more than that, he showed up in the small moments. When Luna was stressed about permit delays, he appeared with takeout from her favorite Thai place, which she had never told him about but he had somehow discovered. When she worked late, he worked late too, sitting in her office making phone calls or reviewing documents, his presence somehow comforting rather than intrusive. "You don't have to stay," she told him one evening, the museum dark and quiet around them. "I know, but you shouldn't be here alone. What if you get locked in, or attacked by a rogue dinosaur skeleton? That's not how museums work. You never know. Better safe than sorry." He stretched, his shirt pulling tight across his shoulders in a way Luna definitely didn't notice. "Besides, I like it here. It's peaceful. Most people find museums boring after hours. I'm not most people." He looked at her over his laptop, his amber eyes catching the desk lamp light. "And I don't think you find it boring at all. I think this is where you feel safest. You think you know me pretty well, don't you?" "I'm getting there." He closed his laptop and leaned back in his chair. "Want to know what I've figured out so far? Not particularly. Too bad. You're going to hear it anyway." He started ticking points off on his fingers. "You drink your coffee black because you think adding cream and sugar is frivolous. You organize your books by geological period rather than author because it makes more logical sense to you. You've been hurt before, probably badly, and you decided it was easier to love rocks and bones than people because they can't let you down." Luna's chest tightened. "That's presumptuous." "Am I wrong?" She wanted to snap at him, to retreat behind her usual walls. But she was tired, and Derek had been nothing but kind to her for months, and maybe, just maybe, she was tired of being alone. His name was Peter, she said quietly. We met in graduate school. He was another paleontology student, brilliant, ambitious. We spent 3 years together, planning our future. We were going to travel to dig sites around the world, publish papers together, maybe teach at the same university. What happened? He got a job offer in London. Amazing opportunity, everything he'd ever wanted. He asked me to come with him, to give up my position here and just follow him. When I said I had my own career to think about, he said I was selfish and uncompromising. He left, and 6 months later I saw on social media that he was engaged to someone else. Someone who was willing to rearrange her entire life for him. Derek was quiet for a moment. He was an idiot. Maybe I was the idiot for thinking someone could actually want to build a life with me rather than expecting me to fit into theirs. No, Derek's voice was firm. You were right to stand up for yourself. Love isn't about one person sacrificing everything for the other. It's about building something together, about supporting each other's dreams. He wanted a supporting character in his story. You deserved a partner. Luna looked at him, really looked at him, and felt something shift inside her. How are you so sure about these things? Because I've seen what real partnership looks like. My parents had it before Mom died. They celebrated each other's successes, supported each other through failures. Dad never asked Mom to be less than she was to make him feel bigger. He stood and came around the desk, leaning against it so he was closer to her. You deserve that too, Luna. Someone who sees your light and wants to stand beside it, not dim it. I don't have any light. I'm not like you. You're wrong. He reached out and gently tilted her chin up so she had to meet his eyes. You're brilliant and passionate and dedicated. When you talk about your work, you glow. When you're patient with the kids who come through on field trips, explaining fossils with such care, you're radiant. You have so much light, Luna. You've just been keeping it locked away. Her breath caught. They were close now, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his amber eyes, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from him. For a wild moment, she thought he might kiss her. More terrifying, she realized she wanted him to. But Derek stepped back, sliding his hands into his pockets with a soft smile. It's late. Let me drive you home. I can take the subway. I know you can, but I'd feel better making sure you got home safe. Humor me. Luna found herself agreeing, found herself sitting in his expensive car as they drove through the quiet city streets. They didn't talk much, but the silence was comfortable. When he pulled up in front of her modest apartment building, he got out and walked her to the door. Thank you, she said. For the ride, and for everything else. Anytime. He hesitated, then said, Luna, I need to tell you something. I'm not just the Foundation's liaison. Her stomach dropped. What do you mean? I'm Derek Kensington. The Kensington Foundation is my foundation. I started it 5 years ago when I took over my father's company. I'm the CEO of Kensington Industries. We do manufacturing, mostly industrial equipment, but we've expanded into technology and real estate. The foundation is my way of giving back. Luna stared at him. You're the billionaire Derek Kensington, the one who was on the cover of Forbes last year. I try not to lead with that. People treat you differently when they know. You've been lying to me for months, not lying, just not advertising. Everything else I've told you, everything I've shown you, that's all real. I wanted you to see me as Derek, not as some rich guy writing checks. Luna's mind was reeling. I need to go. Luna, wait. Good night, Mr. Kensington. She went inside without looking back, her hands shaking as she climbed the stairs to her apartment. Once inside, she leaned against the door, trying to process everything. Derek Kensington was a billionaire. An actual, real-life billionaire. and he had been spending months working beside her, eating takeout in her cramped office, pretending to be just a regular guy who cared about dinosaurs. Except, her traitorous brain pointed out he did care about dinosaurs, and he did care about the project. Nothing about his passion or dedication had been fake. He had just withheld one significant detail about his identity. Her phone buzzed with a text. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I should have, but nothing else was a lie. Everything I feel is real. Sleep well, Luna." She didn't respond. She couldn't, because she was terrified to examine what that last sentence might mean. The next day, Luna threw herself into work with even more intensity than usual. She avoided Derek's calls and responded to his texts with brief, professional updates. When he showed up at the museum, she made sure she was always in meetings or on calls or somehow unavailable. After a week of this, he cornered her in the fossil preparation lab. "You're avoiding me," he said, closing the door behind him. "I'm busy." "Luna, please, can we talk about this?" She set down the tiny brush she had been using and turned to face him. In the bright lights of the lab, she could see the strain on his face, the shadows under his eyes. "What do you want me to say?" she asked. "That it's fine you lied about who you were." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything right away." "That's a distinction without a difference." "Is it?" He moved closer, his voice passionate. "If I had introduced myself as Derek Kensington, billionaire CEO, what would you have done? Would you have given me a tour of the fossil lab? Would you have opened up to me about Peter? Or would you have treated me like every other wealthy donor with professional courtesy and nothing more?" Luna wanted to argue, but he was right. She knew he was right. "You wanted me to like you for you," she said slowly. "Not for your money." "Yes." "Is that so terrible?" "No, it's actually kind of understandable." She sighed and sat on one of the lab stools. "I'm sorry, I overreacted. You just surprised me and I don't like surprises." Derek sat beside her, close but not touching. "I should have told you sooner. Especially once we became friends. I kept meaning to, but the timing never felt right, and then so much time had passed that it felt even weirder to bring up." "We are friends, aren't we?" Luna said, surprised to realize it was true. Derek had somehow become her closest friend, the person she looked forward to seeing, the one who made her days brighter. "I hope so." He looked at her with such earnestness that her heart ached. "I really hope so because, Luna, you've become incredibly important to me. These past few months, working with you, getting to know you, it's been the best part of my days. The best part of my year, honestly. Derek, I know you probably don't feel the same way. I know you built your walls for good reasons, and I'm not trying to push. But I need you to know that what I feel for you is real. It's not about the project or the museum or anything else. It's about you. The way you light up when you discover something new. The way you're so careful and precise with your work. The way you pretend to be all grumpy and cynical, but you're actually incredibly kind. You just don't let many people see it." Luna's breath was coming faster now. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I don't know what to do with them. Because I'm not good at this. Because I'll probably mess it up and hurt you, and you deserve better than that." Derek reached out and took her hand, his grip warm and steady. "What if you don't mess it up? What if you're better at this than you think? What if all you need is someone patient enough to wait while you figure it out? Are you saying you want to date me? Officially?" "I'm saying I'm already halfway in love with you, and I'd like the chance to see where this goes. If you're willing to take a risk on someone who's maybe a little too optimistic for his own good." Halfway in love with her. The words echoed in Luna's mind, terrifying and thrilling in equal measure. Every instinct told her to run, to protect herself, to shut this down before she got hurt again. But a small voice, one that sounded suspiciously like the young Luna from that photograph on her desk, the one who had been happy and unguarded and full of hope, asked, What if he's right? What if you could be happy? Okay, she whispered. Derek's eyes widened. Okay, let's try this. Dating, officially. But I need you to be patient with me because I'm probably going to be terrible at it. His smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. You won't be terrible, and I'm the most patient person you'll ever meet. Well, except when it comes to waiting for you to agree to date me. That nearly killed me. Luna found herself smiling back, really smiling in a way she hadn't in years. You're ridiculous. You like it. Unfortunately, I think I do. Derek pulled her into a hug, and Luna let herself sink into it, let herself feel the solid warmth of him, the steady beat of his heart. For the first time in years, she felt safe in someone's arms. So, Derek said, pulling back just enough to see her face, can I take you to dinner now? Like an actual date dinner, not a working dinner? Yes, but nowhere too fancy. I don't have clothes for fancy. We'll go wherever you want. I just want to be with you. That evening, Derek took her to a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. It was perfect. They talked about everything and nothing, shared pasta and wine, and Luna found herself laughing more than she had in months. Tell me about your company, she said, twirling spaghetti on her fork. I should probably know what the man I'm dating actually does. It's not that exciting. We manufacture parts for industrial machinery mostly, not exactly thrilling dinner conversation. You're a billionaire, though. That's a lot of parts. Derek laughed. Fair point. My grandfather started the company in the 1950s, making parts for factories. My dad expanded it globally and diversified into other areas. When he retired and I took over 5 years ago, I focused on innovation and sustainability. We've developed some new manufacturing processes that are much more environmentally friendly. That's been my passion project. Saving the planet one machine part at a time, something like that. I figure if we're going to make things, we should try not to destroy the earth in the process. Especially since you spend so much time studying what happened to the creatures who lived here before us. Luna felt warmth spread through her chest. I like that you think about things that way. I like that you're passionate about preserving the past so we can learn from it. We're a good team, you and I. As the evening went on, Luna found herself relaxing in ways she hadn't thought possible. Derek asked about her work, her childhood, her dreams. He shared stories about his own life, about taking over the company at 30 and feeling terrified he would fail his father's legacy, about the pressure of wealth and how isolating it could be. People either want something from you or they're intimidated by you, he said. It's rare to meet someone who just sees you as a person. That's why I didn't tell you right away. You treated me like Derek, just Derek. It was refreshing. I'm sorry I made such a big deal about it. Don't be. You had a right to be upset. He reached across the table and took her hand. But I'm glad you gave me another chance. When he drove her home that night, he walked her to her door again. They stood in the dim hallway and Luna felt her heart racing. I had a really nice time, she said. Me too. Derek tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch gentle. Can I see you again? Tomorrow, you saw me today. We worked together all afternoon. That was work. I mean see you, another date. Luna pretended to think about it, enjoying the slight panic that flashed across his face. I suppose I could fit you into my schedule. You're going to give me a heart attack, you know that, she laughed. And then, because it felt right, because she wanted to, she leaned up and kissed him. It was soft and brief, just a press of lips, but it sent electricity through her entire body. When she pulled back, Derek looked dazed. Wow. Good night, Derek. Best night of my life, just so you know. He was grinning like a fool, and Luna found she loved that she had put that expression on his face. Over the next few months, Luna and Derek fell into a relationship that felt both natural and extraordinary. They saw each other almost every day, whether working on the museum project or going on actual dates. Derek introduced her to his world slowly, taking her to gallery openings and charity events, always staying by her side when she felt overwhelmed by the wealth and attention. "You're doing great," he would whisper, his hand at the small of her back. "Just another hour and then we can escape for pizza." Luna met his father, Richard Kensington, a dignified man in his 70s who reminded her of Derek in all the best ways. He was warm, gracious, and clearly adored his son. "He talks about you constantly," Richard told Luna over lunch. "I haven't seen him this happy since before his mother passed. You're good for him." "He's good for me too," Luna admitted. "I was pretty closed off before we met." Love has a way of opening us up whether we want it to or not. Richard smiled knowingly. "Don't fight it too hard, my dear. Some things are worth the risk." Derek, in turn, charmed everyone at the museum. The staff adored him, the director praised him constantly, and even Marcus, who was protective of Luna, admitted that Derek was a good guy. "He really loves you," Marcus told her one day. "The way he looks at you when you're not paying attention, it's like you hung the moon." Luna felt her cheeks warm. "We've only been together a few months. Some people know faster than others. My wife and I got engaged after 3 months, and we've been married 20 years. As spring turned to summer, the museum wing began to take real shape. Luna spent hours on site, watching her vision come to life. Derek was always there, asking questions, offering support, bringing her water when she forgot to hydrate. One evening, as they stood on the construction site watching the sunset through the skeletal frame of the new building, Derek wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Can you see it?" he asked. "What it's going to be?" "Yes, it's going to be incredible. You're incredible." He kissed her temple. "I love you, Luna. I've been wanting to say it for weeks, but I didn't want to scare you off. But standing here, seeing what you've built, what we've built together, I can't keep it in anymore. I love you." Luna turned in his arms, her heart pounding. For a moment, the old fear rose up, the instinct to protect herself, to hold back. But then she looked at Derek's face, at the love and hope shining in his eyes, and she knew. "I love you too," she said, and felt the last of her walls crumble. "I really, really love you." Derek kissed her then, deep and passionate, and Luna kissed him back with everything she had. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "Move in with me," he said. Luna laughed. "That's your response to us saying I love you for the first time." "I've been thinking about it for weeks. My place is way bigger than your apartment, and you're there half the time anyway. Plus, I have a whole room we could turn into a home office for you, with space for all your books and specimens. And a better kitchen, so I can actually cook for you properly." "You're serious." "Completely. I want to wake up with you every morning. I want to come home to you every night. I want to build a life with you, Luna, starting now." It was fast, probably too fast by most standards. But when Luna thought about going back to her tiny, lonely apartment, about spending nights without Derek's warmth beside her, it felt wrong. "Okay," she said. "Yes, let's do it." Derek's whoop of joy echoed across the construction site, making workers look over in confusion. Luna buried her face in his chest, laughing, feeling lighter than she had in years. Moving in together was an adjustment. Derek's penthouse was beautiful but almost absurdly large for 2 people. Luna had to get used to the doorman, the private elevator, the floor-to-ceiling windows that made her feel like she was living in the sky. But Derek made it easy, giving her space to arrange things how she wanted, never making her feel like a guest in his home. "It's our home now," he insisted, watching her shelve her beloved fossil collection in the office he had set up for her. I want you to feel comfortable here." They developed routines. Derek made coffee every morning while Luna checked emails. They ate breakfast together whenever possible, sharing the newspaper and discussing their days ahead. In the evenings, they cooked together or ordered in and talked about everything and nothing. Luna learned that Derek sang in the shower, off-key but enthusiastically. Derek discovered that Luna liked to work late into the night when inspiration struck, so he started keeping her favorite snacks stocked. They learned each other's rhythms, accommodated each other's quirks, and fell deeper in love with every passing day. The museum wing opened in October, 9 months after Luna and Derek had first met. It was a spectacular success. Families poured through the interactive exhibits. Children pressed their faces against the virtual reality displays, and the educational programs Luna had designed were booked solid for months. At the opening gala, Luna stood beside Derek, wearing a dress he had convinced her to buy, watching people explore the space she had created. Director Hammond gave a speech praising her vision and dedication, and the Kensington Foundation for their generous support. "This is your night," Derek whispered. "You did this." "We did this," Luna corrected. "I couldn't have done it without you." After the gala, they escaped to the now empty dinosaur hall, their favorite place in the museum. They stood beneath the T-Rex, holding hands, surrounded by the quiet presence of ancient bones. "You remember the first time I met you here?" Derek asked. "You looked at me like I was the most annoying person you had ever encountered. You were cheerful. It was suspicious. And now?" Luna turned to face him, placing her hands on his chest. "Now I can't imagine my life without your ridiculous optimism. You've made me believe in good things again, in happiness, in love." Derek reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Luna's breath stopped. "I was going to wait," he said, opening the box to reveal a stunning ring, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds. "I had this whole plan for a perfect proposal, but standing here in the place where we met, it feels right." "Luna Adams, you are the most brilliant, stubborn, wonderful person I have ever known. You've shown me that the right person will always be worth the wait, worth the patience. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Luna's face, and for once, she didn't care about maintaining her composure. "Yes. Yes, of course yes." Derek slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then pulled her into a kiss that felt like coming home. When they broke apart, both laughing and crying, Luna looked at the ring sparkling on her hand. "It's beautiful. But why a sapphire?" "Because diamonds felt too predictable for you. And sapphires are formed under intense pressure and heat, transformed into something precious and unique. It reminded me of you. You've been through hard things, pressure and pain, but it made you into this amazing, strong, beautiful person." I thought it was fitting. Luna had never loved him more than in that moment. They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the museum, surrounded by their closest friends and family. Luna wore a simple white dress, and Derek could not stop smiling. As they exchanged vows beneath the watchful eyes of the dinosaur skeletons, promising to love and support each other through whatever life brought, Luna felt a peace she had never thought possible. Richard Kensington cried during the ceremony, and afterward pulled Luna into a tight hug. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for loving my son and letting him love you. His mother would have adored you. I wish I could have met her. She would have seen in you what I see, a strong woman who isn't afraid to stand on her own but is brave enough to stand with someone else too." The reception was held in the new museum wing, the space filled with lights and laughter. Luna danced with Derek, with her new father-in-law, with Marcus and other colleagues who had become friends. As the night wore on, she and Derek snuck away to the rooftop terrace, wanting a moment alone. "Happy?" Derek asked, wrapping his jacket around her shoulders against the cool night air. Incredibly, Luna leaned against him, looking out at the city lights. A year ago, I never would have believed this was possible, that I could be this happy, that someone could love me like this. I'll spend every day proving it to you. Derek kissed the top of her head. We're going to have an amazing life together, Luna. I promise you that. And he was right. Over the next few years, they built a life that was full and rich. Luna continued her work at the museum, eventually becoming the director of the entire natural sciences division. Derek expanded his company's environmental initiatives and started a program providing STEM education funding to underprivileged schools. They traveled together, visiting dig sites around the world that Luna had only dreamed of seeing. In Mongolia, they helped excavate a velociraptor nest. In Argentina, they stood in awe before the remains of a massive titanosaur. Derek proved to be a surprisingly good field assistant, and Luna discovered she loved sharing her passion with someone who appreciated it so fully. On their third anniversary, as they sat in their living room reviewing photos from their latest expedition, Derek pulled Luna close. "I have something to tell you," he said. Luna looked up, sensing something significant. "What is it?" "I want a family with you. Kids. I want to take them to museums the way my mom took me. I want to watch you teach them about dinosaurs and science and how to be curious about the world. I want that future with you." Luna felt tears prick her eyes. She had thought about this too more and more lately. The idea of children had always seemed abstract before, something other people did. But with Derek, she could picture it. Could imagine little faces that looked like his, could see herself passing on her love of paleontology to the next generation. "I want that too," she said. "I want to build that with you." Their daughter, Claire, named after Derek's aunt who had helped him find his way, was born 2 years later. She had Derek's amber eyes and Luna's determined spirit. Their son, Marcus, came 3 years after that, named for the colleague who had become one of their closest friends. Luna had worried she would be a terrible mother, too rigid and impatient. But Derek had been right, as usual. She found reserves of patience she never knew she had, found joy in watching her children discover the world. She took them to the museum every week, watching their faces light up at the dinosaur exhibits, answering their endless questions with care and enthusiasm. Derek was an incredible father, patient and playful, teaching their children to approach life with wonder and optimism. But he also taught them the lessons his mother had taught him, about kindness and generosity, about finding joy even in difficult times. On Claire's 5th birthday, they held her party at the museum. As Luna watched her daughter run through the halls with her friends, laughing and pointing at the exhibits, she felt Derek's arm slip around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How different my life is from what I expected. How much better it turned out. Any regrets?" Luna turned to face him, this man who had seen past her walls, who had been patient enough to wait while she learned to open her heart, who had shown her that optimism and sunshine could light up even the darkest corners. "Not a single one," she said, and kissed him. Years later, when Luna was asked to give a talk at a university about her career and the museum wing that had become one of the most visited exhibits in the country, she stood before a room full of eager students and told them the truth. "The bones and fossils we study, they teach us about persistence and adaptation, about how life finds a way even in the harshest conditions. But working with ancient life taught me something else too. It taught me that we get one chance at this existence, one brief moment in the vast timeline of Earth's history, and what we choose to do with that time matters." She paused, catching sight of Derek in the back of the room, Claire and Marcus sitting beside him. He gave her an encouraging smile, the same smile that had annoyed her so much when they first met, the same smile she now loved more than anything. I spent years protecting myself from disappointment and pain. I built walls and convinced myself that isolation was safety. But then someone came along who was stubborn enough to wait for those walls to come down, who showed me that letting someone in wasn't weakness, it was strength. That love wasn't a risk to be avoided but a gift to be cherished. The work we do in paleontology is about preserving the past and learning from it. But we also have to live in the present and build toward the future. We have to be brave enough to take chances, to believe in possibilities, to let other people's light illuminate our own lives. Because that's how we grow, that's how we evolve, that's how we become more than we thought we could be. After the talk, Derek met her with a kiss and a bouquet of her favorite flowers, which were actually just wildflowers from the field near their country house, the one they had bought so the kids could run and play in nature. "That was beautiful," he said. "And for the record, you had plenty of light even before I came along. I just helped you remember it was there." "We helped each other," Luna said, taking his hand as Claire and Marcus rushed up to show her drawings they had made during her lecture. "That's what the best partnerships do." As they walked out of the university together, a family built on love and patience and the willingness to take a chance on happiness, Luna thought about the grumpy, isolated woman she had been when Derek first walked into her museum. That woman had been so certain that protecting herself was the only way to avoid pain, so convinced that optimism was naive and trust was foolish. But Derek had proved her wrong in the best possible way. His sunshine had not overwhelmed her darkness, but had mixed with it to create something new, something balanced and whole. He had not tried to change her, but had loved her exactly as she was while showing her that she could be more, could be happier, could let herself hope. And in return, Luna had given him something too. She had grounded his optimism with realism, had shown him that strength could be quiet, that love could be fierce and protective as well as gentle and kind. They had built something together that neither could have created alone. That night, after the children were asleep, Luna and Derek sat on their balcony, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. Derek's arm was around her shoulders, and Luna's head rested against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "I love you," she said, words that came easily now after years of practice. "Thank you for not giving up on me." "I love you too," Derek replied, pressing a kiss to her hair. "And I never considered giving up. From the moment I met you, I knew you were worth the wait, worth everything." "You still are." Luna smiled, feeling the warmth of his words settle around her like a blanket. She thought about the journey they had taken together, from that rainy Tuesday morning when a too cheerful stranger had appeared beneath the T-Rex skeleton, to this moment of perfect contentment. She thought about all the walls that had come down, all the fears she had conquered, all the joy she had allowed herself to feel. Derek had been right, all those years ago. Life was too short to spend it hiding from happiness. The best way to honor the brief time they had was to live fully, love deeply, and never take a single day for granted. And she had been right too in her way. Some things required patience and care, could not be rushed or forced. Love was like fossil preparation, delicate work that took time and attention, but revealed something precious and irreplaceable in the end. Together, they had found the balance between his sunshine and her storms, his optimism and her realism. They had created a life that was richer than either had imagined possible, full of love and laughter, challenges and triumphs, and always, always, the unwavering certainty that they were better together than they ever could have been apart. As Luna sat there with her husband beside her, her children asleep down the hall, and a life full of purpose and joy stretching before her, She finally understood what Derek had been trying to tell her from the beginning. His light had not just illuminated her life. It had helped her discover the light that had been inside her all along, waiting for someone brave enough, patient enough, and loving enough to help her set it free. And in doing so, they had created something that shone brighter than either of them alone. A love that would last, a family that would endure, and a happiness that once seemed impossible but now felt inevitable. This was their story. The grumpy curator who had learned to smile again, and the sunshine billionaire who had shown her how. And it was, Luna thought as Derek squeezed her hand and smiled at her in the darkness, the most beautiful story she could have ever imagined.